Good morning. I was over on the other side. I was like, oh, I gotta go. But I made a flying dash in, right? Good morning. How is everybody? I'm Bradley McCalister, founder of Chrom-Craft, and this is Monday Methods. It's a wonderful Monday morning, as usual in South Georgia. A little breezy out there, but it's not hot. It's not cold. It's just about right. Got a little AC going just in case today. I hope everybody's doing well. I think I have everything turned on like I should. Let me know if anything is working or not working. Good morning, Art Miller. Great to see you. Thank you for being one of the first members of the new Monday Methods community. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. We're getting it all put together also slowly. Do you like that entrance? Good morning, Mary Alice. If you missed my entrance, Mary Alice, you got to see I came running in around the lathe, sliding into first base because I was back there putting Facebook up on the screen. I hope everybody's doing well. Going to be a lot of fun today. I'm looking forward to everything but the fact that I'm messing with oak. I'm just not a fan of oak. It burns great in the wood stove. I love it for that. But this piece that we're going to be playing with today is this piece from a while back, like last year, where I filled the big holes with gel epoxy, the Chrom-Craft epoxy gel. And then I was playing with it this morning on the backside, looking at some of the, trying to dye and maybe do a grain fill. And I'm not 100% on if I like this or not. This grain is not, it's not as open as I expected. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with this guy just yet. But we'll come up with a plan, because we always do. It's interesting. Let me see if I go to the overhead here real quick. I want to show you something. So I made this little hole in the middle. Hey, Derek's in here. Happy Monday to you, Derek. I made this little hole in here, and it's been so long now, I can't remember why I made it, to be quite honest. And I'm not sure what to do with it now. Just one of the downfalls of being a guy with way too many pieces laying around and trying to figure out what he wants to do. Again, here's where we plugged these voids with the Chrom-Craft epoxy gel. All right. And another feature that is of interest today, and if you were reading the post, this cove that I've turned here, it goes all the way around. Part of me wants to do a resin fill here, and I don't think I would do anything crazy, but we're not there yet, so I'm not sure. Art says a candle holder. That would work. This thing is just some kind of I'm not sure what it is. It's me playing. So I might want to do a resin fill at the end of the day here, mix up some regular epoxy resin and fill this in. I'm just not sure. Again, I played with these colors, and all this has to get turned. That's why I didn't worry about it. I sprayed the back with the aerosol dye. Well, actually, I used the red. I used the red aerosol dye, the Chrom-Craft aerosol red. Let me right side up, Brad. So that's what I sprayed on here as a test, because I knew that I had to turn this whole backside because of the resin that's sticking through. So I wasn't worried about the colors and all that kind of stuff on there. And I just wasn't really all that inspired by what the, this is Liberon liming wax that I've had forever and ever. This is the Chrom-Craft liming paste, gilding white liming. This is the metallic blue accent paste, and this is the gold, the Saxon gold Chromagilt. So I tried a variety of different things on there to kind of see. I got a funny shadow on there. If I got a look that I liked, and I haven't seen one yet. I'm thinking about what kind of contrasts I want to get into. Awesome. Am I saying it right finally? Awesome. Good morning. Glad to see you here. Hey, everybody. Most of you that are here, John Phillips is here. It's cool. I want to make sure I get this in the front end of the video. So most everybody who's here is already now a member of the Monday Methods community group that I created last week. And if you're not, for people who are watching this after the fact, if you'll go to Facebook and Chrom-Craft and search for Monday Methods Community, this is what the community page looks like. So, good morning, Mark. Good to see you. Good morning, Lan. Y'all are popping right in. This is what the page looks like if you haven't been there yet, the group page. And Facebook is weird. I'm not going to say I'm not a big fan. It's a little strange. They tell you to invite everybody who has interacted with your page, right? That's about 2,000 people that follow Chrom-Craft. And yet it only lets me invite about 50 at a time. Then it tells me I've broken a rule and that I can't invite anymore for a while. So I don't quite understand how it works. And in their wonderful vagueness, it says, you have broken one of our rules and can't invite any more right now. And that's all it tells me. So I invited some more folks this morning. Like I say, I've probably been able to invite about 150, 200 out of 2,000. If you see this, if you watch the video today, come on by if you like Monday Methods. Jump in here, join the group, because those of you in the group should have been able to see the discount code post, which I put in there. And if I do this right, we're going to see I have my remote, my super fancy remote here. And if I do this right, let me see. I'm going to go back over here. Got to go to 4. So that, I'm trying to remember how this thing works. There we go. Because I'm driving the computer over in the control room. That picture right there has the code, which is MMOAK, which gets us a 15% off discount for today. And it's because of what we might do here today. It's in the categories of the dyes, so aerosol dye or the liquid wood dye. Anything in the dye category is going to give you the discount. The accent paste, which will include the Chroma-Gilt. It should be. The Chroma-Gilt's actually on sale, so let me think about that. Chroma-Gilt's on sale right now. It's reduced in there, so it may only apply to the accent paste. And then any of the epoxy resins will give you'll get 15% off. And it runs through today, and it'll terminate tonight at midnight or something like that. And let's see, Mom's here. Hey, Jeff Peters made it on a bonus coffee break. Lan, such a desperado. Ma, Brian, morning everybody. And Pop's in here too. So join the group. Join the Monday Methods community, and if it's working like it's supposed to, I'm going to put this thing back down before I do something wrong. The posts for the discounts for like today will be posted there. You'll know it ahead of time. If somebody watches this tomorrow, the discount won't work. I'm just giving you that heads up, just so you know. So it's always going to be tied to whatever the content was for Monday Methods. Hopefully that makes sense. And what do I want to do with this thing? Well, the first thing I got to do is I got to clean it back up a little bit. I need to turn away the resin. I need to really turn away this back, which unfortunately you won't be able to see. And I'm not going to worry about it a whole lot. But I'm going to clean up the back, get this thing trued up, and then I am soliciting. I'm soliciting comments, input on what should I do with this guy. Should I dye it and try and do a grain fill? Again, you can see some of it wasn't the greatest looking fill. And if I dye it and then we fill it, what color? I'm going to put you guys, make you involved, and you got time to think about it. 'Cause I got a turn on it, and then think about this ring. If I fill that, what color that should be. All right. So the next thing I have to do real quick is take a sip because I'm already getting froggy. Yeah, so I can put my note away. Over there, we're good to go. Yeah, I guess the sound is all good, all that good stuff, other than my voice getting a little crackly this morning. So we gotta, I love the way when it interprets that. I've been in South Georgia too long. I have to, yeah, this thing's a little wonky. Let's see. Did everybody like the funny little movie with this thing being all warped yesterday that I put out? I can't help myself but get into the film editor and start playing and making fun little videos, even some days when I'm supposed to be doing something else. So this thing has moved a good bit. Let me show you here in the overhead. So this piece was a couple of years dry. The blank was probably 2 inches thick and looks like it's still about 17 inches around. So you can see how much this has gone out around just after I turned it, which is surprising. But then again, not all that much. Because here in South Georgia, the piece isn't sealed and it's been taking in moisture. Here, I'll show you from the end. So I need to true it back up, which is going to change things a little bit. Now I could go ahead and turn this away, but part of me wants to keep it. I think I was thinking about filling it with resin and then turning the wood away later. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to go back, which I didn't, and watch that video when we first turned this guy. So I don't know. You know how I am. I like to get out here and just start having some fun and playing with it, seeing where it goes. Make sure this guy is good and snug. Now I'm thinking, can't wait to see the transcripts, that I will use a negative rate cutter because I've got the resin in here, and this oak is hard. So I'm thinking it should cut pretty uniformly, because when we have the hard spots right here, it makes, and these are knots that I also filled, the resin makes the tool want to jump. And the negative rate cutters will cut. Now we'll see how well they cut, and if it doesn't do what I want, I'll grab other tools. You know me, I'll always grab whatever I need to. Let's see, Jeff says, if you grain fill first then dye, how would that affect the grain filling? For grain fill first, I don't know. Usually you dye it first, typically, and then do the fill. But you can always do it the other way. And we might do one, as a suggestion, Jeff, because I love to experiment. We might do the front one way and the back the other. I mean, I'm really neither here nor there on how this piece turns out. There's always black paint at the end of the day if I don't like what I did. So that's an interesting concept to do one, do one first and then the other first, back and forth, and see how it goes. First, let's get this thing straightened up. I think that's the first order of business. And I don't know if you can tell. I'll give you the overhead here for a second. I cleaned up my lathe bed this morning. Isn't that something? And it's all freshly polished up. That's as good as this one gets, this road machine. And dry lubed. She's running like new money again. All that good stuff. Probably the best view is going to be from over here on the end. And I want to start out here on the corner and get this true, because it's not going to be able to turn super fast when it's out of whack. So let's see what kind of speed. I always check that first. What kind of speed we can get. She's not too bad. Looks like it'll let me spin it right up. So Derek, what speed should I spin this? I saw the post thread yesterday. You guys were talking about speeds on pieces. I'm not one for ratios and factors. If I'm comfortable and things aren't shaking, I'll let it roll. So that's about 765, 770, somewhere in there. I think I'm comfortable with that to start with this morning to get this back into shape. Okay. Where did I put my mask while I was cleaning up this morning? Oh, over here on the grinder. All Alrighty. Let's see. Like I said, I think I'm going to start with a negative rake cutter, Easy Wood Tools negative rake cutter. And although actually, because there's no resin out here, I'm going to use a standard cutter out here. It's handy to have all the tools. Raise this guy up a little bit. It's going to be easier. I could use any one of the gouges to clean this outside up, but since this is already rounded over and now it's out around, and I'm going to take the path of least resistance for myself, and that's why I'm going to use the carbide tool. Again, I'm not worried about the perfect finish just yet. So let's get going here. So I look forward to your comments. Keep thinking about what color should we put in, what color, what kind of a base color, what kind of a highlight. To let you know, I've got things like, I'll look from over here. I've got metallic blues. Let's say I've got a variety of colors to dye it, and then I've got blues, golds, blacks, copper, gold for highlights, and white. And in the dyes, I've got violet, magenta, yellow. I don't think I have any teal in here. So just be thinking about different colors. Okay. So let's pop in here and start to clean this thing up. This stuff is so hard and nasty. Oak actually hurts. It's one of the few things that I might sometimes wear a glove on. You'll also notice the chips are just blowing away. If you see that, that's because I've got a fan. Fan is right over there, blowing everything away. So the beauty of this is we can do anything we want to with it. And it's something I've done for a long, long time. Is with a lot of projects, I would start them, and then I would let them sit for a while. Just let them do their thing. I'm going to come around and reach around this back corner here before and then I come back to them and see if I still liked the idea that I started with. So I'm going to come around here and get this back side, not the whole back side, just this back corner, just to kind of get that in line, because I'm going to have to take the chuck off to get all the way to the back. Okay. I just wanted to get so that it visually wasn't irritating me watching that back go around. Now, with the carbide tool, it's actually opening things up a lot, so it may take, not that it's been sanded or anything before, but it may take a filler a little bit better. Not 100% sure. So now I'm on the end camera. I'm going to try not to get in your way. A little low as I move that around. I want to come in here and clean this up. It's just this easier to get in with these carbide tools, and again, I'm not taking the edge off of one of my high-speed steel Carter & Son tools. So I do my rough work with these. And that doesn't mean I won't finish with them, it just depends on the project. And actually that is that I want to use my number one with the small CI5, smaller, little tighter radius right in here. I'll take a stop, take a look here. See, so this makes a natural inlay area, and that's why I'm thinking about filling it. And one thing I have learned with the colored, when I color the resin, we'll pop back over here for a second. Let's say I fill this in here with the colored resin. I have learned that if the wood around it isn't sealed, it's going to bleed. Especially in the end grain, it's going to bleed the colors from the resin. And I've tested even using 2 coats of sealer, and sometimes I still get a bleed. So what I think I want to do, if I put let me go here back to the end real quick. If I fill this with a resin, I think I want to have the colors between here and here very similar from whatever we dye it, I think. But then again, you know, because you don't know what's going to happen, it might be interesting to have a bleed, but you have no control. So it's something to think about on which way we want to go as far as do we fill it, do we not, so on and so forth. And this is looking all right. There is a little crack right there. Of course, if we do resin in that, that's not bad. I mean, this was a junky piece of wood. It's a piece of wood that normally nobody would turn, but with the epoxy, it made it pretty easy to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and come on across here now. Let me go back over here. I'm going to come across here, and we'll clean this up and start to get an idea of what we want to do. And I'll go back to a bigger cutter. Now I'm going to go to the negative rake because I'm going to be touching that resin area. So it's not nearly as aggressive. Just out of curiosity, if I use a standard cutter, let's see what happens when I hit that resin. Because the resin areas are pretty small. See, the standard cutter cuts, it's much more aggressive, so it does actually cut better and faster in the wood. And I'm going to keep my little cone, at least for the moment. Okay. So that cleaned up pretty well. There's still a little bit of a divot right there. It's like I didn't get everything filled. Now the one thing that I need to do, and this is what's going to be a little concerning right now, is I need to turn the back as well and figure out this. How much wood do I have? This is not very thick. All right. Well, let's find out just how thick it is or isn't. It's actually a little thinner than I was expecting it was. So it looks like it's maybe 3/8 of an inch thick all the way through here. I don't know if you can see that on against the window or the gray. Here, let me go overhead for you, and you can see the thickness. So that's my total thickness right now of the piece, right? So what happens when I true this back up depends on how far out it is. The concern is when I come and work back out here, if I make this too thin in the middle, I'm going to get more flexing out here on the outer band than I want. So some of this is not a whole lot left to work with. That's probably 1/4 of an inch right in there. All right. So what I think I'm going to do is go around to the back, just clean it up. I just want to cut the resin back so that it's clean. I'm not going to take any more off of it than I absolutely have to. All right, because we're not looking for a catastrophe to happen here today. We had a little explosion there a couple of weeks ago. We don't want to have another one of those. So I'm just going to come around the back. So what I have to do, because I can't get the banjo under here because the thing is too big, I'm going to take the chuck off the lathe and slide my banjo underneath. And I just want to clean up the back. And hopefully it doesn't end up too thin. As you can see in the overhead, that actually cleaned up pretty nice. All right, not a ton of tool mark rivets, even from being in with a round carbide cutter. I like my little blue, but let's get this turned around here. And again, I'm just going to clean up the back. Keith Marshall, been a while. Yes, it has, sir. While I'm putting this on, if you haven't been in a while and you haven't been on the Chrom-Craft page, we have started a group, Monday Methods community group. And that's what it looks like over on our Facebook page. If you didn't get an invitation from Chrom-Craft, feel free to go over there and ask for entrance, because it is a private group, it's not a public group. And there we post all kinds of things about Monday Methods and discussion, and I'll be doing, and this is something I'm going to ask about today, and you can be thinking about this one too. I want to do a live Zoom style, but I think I'm going to use Google Meet. I have the Google. I drank the Kool-Aid, and I use the Google G Suite and all the Google products, and I'm already paying for that. So why pay for Zoom when I'm already got access and I can bring everybody in on a Google Meet? And another day of the week after Monday Methods, I want to do a live, Q&A chat. One day or / night later in the week, and I'm open to input on when would be a good time. I know everybody's schedule is different, and that's kind of an open-ended question, but I'm trying to come up with when I should do that, and I'll do one this week, and I'll figure out. I'm going to take a shot just after today and pick a time, pick a day, and pick a time, and see how it goes, and we'll do our first test run, if you will, of that, and I'll be out here in the studio, and then we can cover the topic. So my focus of the concept is to, let's say you got inspired by whatever I made here on Monday Methods, and then you went and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, maybe you worked on one, you made one yourself or made a shot at it. I would like to have the discussion be able to possibly center around that topic, so that it's still fresh, if you happen to go that route. But it's not going to be limited to that. That might be its key focus, but not limited to that. So I'm thinking about putting it later in the week, but not on a weekend. I'm open to suggestions. You can put it in the comment column. You can message me. You can send me an email, however you're comfortable, popping through. So let me know what you're thinking there. Now I'm going to do the back side here, and there's not a good camera, so I think I will leave it on the front camera, and I'll just come around the back side, and you can see what I'm doing as I work on the back side and get this cleaned up. Hopefully it doesn't blow up. Bring my controller right in here, make sure everything's good. And I'm at center. Looks pretty good. All right, and I'm on the front camera there. Cool beans. So I'll just, this is pretty casual. I can stand back here. One of these days, like I've promised, I'm going to get camera number 4 up here, for 4 on the lathe. But I'm still not done with the ceiling work, so I haven't set it up yet. And again, all I want to do is get this guy clean and smooth. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so there's one section, of course, and you can't quite see it. It's where the resin is that is lower than all the rest of it. It's going to make me have to take some more off. Don't you just know that's the way it is? So where the resin holes are, like if I go to the end camera, right in here on the back side is the lowest point that's not getting cut yet. So I have to take more wood away from the rest of it to clean that up. Probably like the least optimum condition, because I couldn't, you know, the bottom being the bottom, I can't just sand away some of the other color. So I need to take some more off of this, even though I don't really want to. So I'm going to work not to take any more than necessary off. Okay, so we're getting closer. We're getting closer. Still got to go a little bit more, of course, unfortunately. Luckily, we don't have to do a lot of turning out here, and we're not going to. Okay, we're getting real close here. So I'm not terribly worried about the thinness, because I'm not going to be overly reshaping this or anything out here. All right, so I got just a little bit of color to go here. It's not scary thin yet. Getting close, but that'll be all right. I'm not gonna do any more than I need to here. Okay. Let's see what, I'm gonna check this real quick just for yucks. Yeah, okay, so we're getting down there, but we're still okay. Trying to keep that where you can see the gap there. So, you know, it's not, there's nothing there. Right there is the thinnest point. And that area on the back, I'm looking at the guides on the back, and I don't really need to take any more right there. I do need to take some more out right up in here, and a little bit more, just a little bit closer inside. So I think I'm okay with my thickness. And I'll just remember where I need to take it out of. I need to take it out of right up top here. And there's plenty of wood out here. We're just getting rid of the color up in here. Now another consideration, and okay, I'm good, is that I have to make sure that this point is higher than the very bottom, and this is just going to sit off of the tabletop or whatever it sits on. The base is about, and this is what I think this is what I was planning, is about maybe a quarter of an inch, maybe an eighth taller, sticks out more this way than the edge, because I want this thing just to float. I think that was my idea. Okay, all right, a little bit more right up in this top corner. Just because if we go with a different color than the red that I put on here, I want that gone. And then right over in here, all right, let's see if we got all the color off of there. We got enough of the color off. Okay. Now the other thing about what color do we choose is The resin is blue. If you look here, oh, wrong one. So you see the resin fills are blue. And that one's the biggest one. So if I can bring it around where you can see it the best. So we've got that color to keep in mind on the piece. Jeff says, been wondering how using the sorbet texturing tool and then filling that with epoxy. Yeah, you could do that. That would actually make an interesting look. That's something I've got a piece a couple years ago when I had the texturing tools out on the road for the woodworking shows. I was abusing pieces of wood with the texturing tool, and that's one of the things I've thought about. And I would use, which I just so happen to have, the Chrom-Craft gel resin out here today, sitting here on the table. If I was going to fill texture that say rolled around a corner, I would use the gel resin because it wouldn't run out. Ow! Don't stick yourself into the tool rest. So the back is clean enough. My fill looks okay. Nothing to get excited about. And we'll take this guy off of here and move the banjo back out to the front. And then it'll be time to start coming up with some kind of decisions here, what we want to do. All right, get you over there. Back in place. Do, 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 do. All right, and now let's think about this. I'm going to put you on the end shot there. What do I want to do? I'm thinking about that while I get a sip of water over here. Oh, my, we've got so many options here. I think I'll clean this up, I'll cut this edge right there, clean that up a little bit more. Now I've got a big gap right there, something either came out or didn't stay, or it didn't get filled. The fill didn't go down in there. So I got a couple of voids there to start with. All right, now whatever dye I dye this, the dye is going to, and I'll have to wipe it off if I want to keep this blue spot showing, because the dye will dye the resin. All right, so that's something to keep in mind. Let me clean up my little candle holder, as Art calls it. Get this cleaned up. Right in here. And then we'll go about getting these ripples out of here. I might sand it a little bit, but I don't want to sand a bunch. Just because I don't like sanding and I don't want to take the time. So we'll see how clean we can get this guy. All right, that looks pretty good. Right in there. Jim Brinkman, good morning. How is Austin these days? Hope you're doing well, sir. I was trying to invite you. I don't know if you got the invitation into the Monday Methods Community private group on Facebook yet or not. If you didn't, go track it down. Just Google it, or not Google, Facebook search for Monday Methods group, Monday Methods Community, and that's what the page looks like. Gives you an idea. That's where you get the discount codes that are going on today during any of the Monday Methods, and talks on one day later in the week on the project that we did or any other topic that comes up. So I just want to clean up my little hole here, my little candle holder, before I get committed to anything else. And I think I'll take a curve tool and reach in there, because it does recurve around. It's like a little volcano in there. Where's my number 2? That should be all the more I need. I think I'll just reach right in there and clean that up. Oh, I can get closer than that, can't I? Little hook tools are great. It's the Easywood Tools mid-size number 2 hollower. Okay, I'm not worried about that being perfect. I don't worry about a lot of things being perfect. So a little chunk came out. There's not much wood right there. That just added a slightly new dimension to things. Okay, so there's not really that much resin in here. We've got a really, really soft, punky piece of wood right here, and then we've got a knot right there, and we've got resin right there. So that's going to be interesting to try and cut this really smooth. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Do, do, do. There's the resin, which is going to make that bounce right there. Remember, I don't want to take much off of this. That is awful thin and thin sounding. Let's try another approach. This is just a regular bowl scraper. All right. Again, I'm just trying to flatten this up. I'm actually not worried about the texture. We're kind of looking maybe to have the texture a little bit in here. So we'll see what happens. I'm trying to remove absolutely as little as possible here. You can hear the thinness of that. Okay, a little bit more. We'll see. Again, trying not to take virtually anything off of here. Of course, that's impossible to not take anything off. And I'm just kind of working away the humps in here. Boy, I'm glad it's not August and July anymore down here. It's actually quite comfortable out here today. Makes it very pleasant to be working. Got a little hump right there, don't you, Bradley? And you came around that corner right in here, right there. So let's take that little hump out. That's right where I was running into the resin when I was on using it with the bowl gouge. Okay, it's getting down there. Just one more cut. Yeah, Jim, of course. Of course, just one more cut. Alright, and I actually like the finish I'm getting right now, so I'm going to come over here to this outer corner and do a little work right in here with the scraper. Not that fast though, Brad. See, this has already moved since I took wood out of the middle. Turn this tool rest a little bit. Now, have you guys decided what we're going to do here? Are we going to dye this and then try and do a grain fill with a color? Or are we going to leave it natural? What are you thinking? And are we going to fill them? I think I've decided. Let's go with this. I'll make half the decision. I'm going to pour resin right in this. Yes, this is a Carter & Son bowl scraper. It's not a negative rake. Somebody stole my negative rake, and I haven't replaced it. Out there on the road, they got it. And I don't use these a lot, so I'm not going to jump out and grab one just because. Now, I got plenty of wood here. All right, I was moving too fast. I took too fast a movement right here, so let's clean that up. Because it's two opposing curved surfaces is fairly aggressive. So I'm starting to look up here. That's where I can see my profile, so I'll look right up there. All right. And it's crazy because the grain's going down one way and going up the other. So you win half the time and you lose half the time. All right. Brian says dye and grain fill. I'm leaning with Brian now. I'm also leaning on dyeing it a darker color. Is what I'm leaning towards. Gonna do a little sanding on this guy, not a lot, just a little bit, okay? Because I just can't stand it. And whatever we do on the front, we're gonna do it opposite on the back, per Jeff Peters' suggestion. So we'll do one way on one side and the opposite on the other. So if we dye and then grain fill, on this one we're going to grain fill and then dye and see what we get. Because it's fun, it's an experiment, it's a test, it's a piece of oak, right? If it comes out cool, great. If not, I'll paint it black. You know, I'm not really all that worried about it. And I believe I'm going to take, let's see, I got the big boy sanding paper hanging around. I got some 100 paper right here at the moment, and I'm not going to sand much on anything. Just enough to kind of flatten this out some. I don't like to sand out here a lot because all the dust in the cameras and everything else. All right, that's why I don't. Other than the fact that I don't like to sand anyway. I don't want to fill this room with dust. I don't have dust extraction in here yet. So I'm trying to keep the sanding to an absolute minimum. Okay. That's what that's all about. And all I want to do is get some of the big tool marks out of here. That's why I started with this 100 grit. Like I say, I'm not going to sand on this guy too terribly much. Okay? It's looking all right though. There is dust collection coming. It's just not, it's on the list of things to do. Just not here yet. And if you want to see from the end there, what I'm up to. Okay, now that took care of that, and I'm going to 150 it with the big paper, and then I'll switch over to the sander, electric sander, for a quick 220 around it. And I'm not going to sand the back. We're just going to leave it raw. We're not going to worry about that. All right, I'm happy with that, happy enough for what we're building. Now a little bit of noise with the electric drill, electric sander here, not for long. This is a line of paper that I'm testing out. Chrom-Craft doesn't carry a sandpaper yet. Uh-oh, did I die? Let's see here. It was working. See if I can get in here. There we go. So I apologize for the noise. So we won't do this very long, just for a minute. Okay. I'm quite happy with this paper. Although I threw it off center there. Quick sand on the outside here. And I might sand the back real quick, just not so it's not quite so atrocious. Got a couple lines right here. See if we can't get rid of that. We got a fresh piece. That was an old piece, a used piece I was using. My glasses are always dirty, even when they're clean. It's the bad thing about my glasses also is that the eye doctor keeps telling me my prescription hasn't changed, so I don't need to buy new lenses. So I just keep running what I got. All right, that's all I'm going to do to this guy. Let me do the back real quick, just for a tick. I got the fan blowing it right on me. The back is just our other experiment. I'm not going to spend much time back here because, like I say, I don't want the dust. I don't want the dust in the shop or in the studio here. The glasses are officially dirty now. Okay, and we need a little air here, which we happen to have. There's enough in the compressor. I don't think it'll come on, just to blow the grain out. Well, I lied, it came on. Okie dokie. I believe that hole goes all the way through, so that's going to be interesting. That resin will run out when I pour that. So I'll have to put some tape back in the back there. See, the grain is holding a lot of dust. If you can hear me, I'll have it all straightened out here in a couple of minutes. If you can't, I'm going to go type an answer to you. I got to get everything back on and get things muted. So the compressor tripped the breaker. I wasn't planning on really using that. So let me jump over here and tell you yeah, don't you love it when that happens? Got a couple of things. I got one of the computers that I used to see you guys is an old laptop and the battery is no more, so it'll take a minute to get that one up. At least I know the guy who set all this stuff up, so we should be able to get it back up pretty quick. Don't you love technology? Oh no, I don't want to do that. On that, I apologize for the slight delay here as we come back to life. Let's go to the overhead shot for a minute while I run around in the room and get things back to where they need to be. Yeah. Yeah, I got that note already to myself. Awesome. Awesome. I just haven't run that other circuit yet. All right. So let me get, come on, computer, come on. It's a slow boot to China over here. So just that little bit of sanding that I was doing, since the control room is not sealed off yet, all the computers are covered in a fine dust. So also that note, there's a note to self to put in the dust filtration. Although it's going to take a nice one to take care of this room, but we will get it squared away. And let me get on this here just as quick as I can get this other laptop up and running so I can make sure that I see what's shaking on Facebook. We will be back in live. Shouldn't take too terribly long. I know it's live. It's what I can't see on my end that I need to fix here. Some of it didn't go down, which is good. I don't think the feed ever went down. I don't know. I'll have to watch the replay and see. It happens to network too, so I don't feel too bad. Of course, that doesn't happen to them very often. But when somebody, trips the plug, it's always kind of interesting. when one of the major networks, somebody, as they say, pulls the plug. All right, I'm just about there. I think I need to get to, I'm on the wrong one. I use this really old laptop to run showing myself Facebook, and it's like slower than a snail. But we're almost there. We're almost there. See, the important thing is that you don't panic. When things go south, you just work your way right through it all. And looks like I'm back. And if I expand that, I can now see everything there. Oh, I gotta go get this one fixed because I got things out. Oh, I lost all those. I had some other treats to show you today, but I may not get back to that if I lost those pages. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 computers running in here to keep up with all the good stuff. And I'm sure I make things just as complicated as possible. That's just me. I like to have as much and restore. Yes, thank you. Okay, cool beans. That is going to come back. Sometimes I actually like Google Chrome and the things I want it to do. All right. So I believe I'm back. Everything is good. I got a little sweaty there because I wasn't in front of my fan. It was a major crisis happened. I mean, the power went out. So we won't be using the compressor anymore, but I was done blowing the dust out of that piece. Sometimes you get that. Oh, well, you get what you get. And you just keep on keeping on. You know, I have to say that 10 years of demonstrating in front of a live audience at the woodworking shows, 13 to 18 weeks a year, a dozen demonstrations a weekend, give or take. I'm pretty used to things when something goes wrong and not getting all freaked out about it. It's good practice. And I know like Jeff Peters is in here. I don't know if Derek is still here. They've been with me at the shows. Art Miller, he comes to the shows. He's seen what the shows are like when you're working the show. Things happen, and it's great practice for this. Because honestly, in my mind, essentially right now, I'm at a woodworking show. All right. The only difference is I'm looking at a couple of monitors and a camera, a big camera lens staring at me there instead of an audience. I actually thought about, just for yucks, putting another monitor, like I need another hole in the head, over here with a live audience. That was my initial thought, but I never went there. I never really decided I needed to do that. So, all right. There's a delay between my voice and my mouth movements. I wonder why. Is anybody else hearing the delay, or is it on Jeff's end? You guys let me know if there's a delay. It shouldn't be. Let me jump over there real quick and check and make sure everything's cool on. I'll give you the overhead of that piece on the stream just to make sure. If anybody else hears a delay, let me know. Sure don't need all that stuff up there on that one. Get rid of that. And we check over here on the stream. And bitrate looks good. Everything's looking good, Jeffrey. So hopefully there's not a delay. Let's see here. I think we're all good. And Jacob says, find a techie that will do a trade with you to work your network over. Yeah, well, my network gets torn apart and put back together every day or every week out here. But that's a great idea, except in my little town, I don't have any techies. Hopefully the feed will catch up here pretty soon. All right, Jeff, be safe out there at work. Have fun on the trains. I know you're a train guy. All righty, so what do we want to do here? And I'm going to take this chuck out of the way, clear things up a little bit. What kind of oak? I think it's actually red oak. It came out of North Georgia, Jasper area where the folks' house is, and it didn't look like white oak. I think it's red oak, but I don't honestly know. So I've actually got a bigger hole right in here than I had expected, but you get that. So what color are we going to dye this? Nobody has offered up a color yet. Nobody's been offering up a color, so I may or may not go with what you choose. But Mary Alice, violet. See, you know how I think, because or maybe I said it earlier. Violet. I was talking about that. I might go with the violet and see what happens for the dye. And Art says blue. So we're in that darker rain. Maria says green. Okay. So and let's see what we have here. I'm going to look. Which camera? I'm on the front camera. So I have orange, coral red, violet, magenta. Magenta and violet are similar as far as I'm concerned. Indigo. Indigo would be in Art's world of blue. I don't have any of the turquoise / teal in here, Brian. That would be a good one to go with this blue, but I don't have any teal here at the studio or the shop next door. And I thought about that this morning. That's magenta again, and said, "Oh, I don't have any teal here," and I sure wish I did. Because I went through the whole box in turquoise, and that's blood red again. So, violet, we don't have turquoise, cordovan, let's see. Violet, magenta, blue, green. What color do you have? Yeah, you probably heard it by now, Mark, the different colors I've got. I'm going to stay away from the orange, and I'm going to stay away from the red. I was actually hoping had black, and in the aerosols I've got blood red and yellow, and I rated next door. So we've got two on the blue indigo, and that is the indigo that I have, which would kind of work with the dye. So here's what I think we'll do. We don't have the turquoise. Blue accent. So I want to pour this black is what I'm thinking. I want to fill this with black resin when it's all said and done. Last thing I'm going to do today. We'll pour that with black resin. So it might be interesting to put the blue on this outer rim and the violet in the middle. What do you guys think? With a black divider. Kind of a strange combination, but I like strange. Indigo and violet or magenta. Indigo, magenta, violet. The violet and the magenta are very similar. And it doesn't matter because this is going to get covered with the resin. So I think that we will go with indigo for the outside and violet on the inside. Now let's do this. Since we have the backside and it's our little test area, and I don't have another piece of this oak in here, let's do a little test up here. Oh, I'm going to walk in front of the camera, so let me change this real quick. Come over here and get a couple of containers. And a couple of brushes. I don't mind, like I say, the backside, I don't mind, you know, really experimenting on the backside on what I do. Magenta and blue, Brian says. Let's see. Well, the blue, we're confirmed that our blue is the indigo. And I should be a good boy and put on my gloves. Now, I wish the dye dried super fast, and the alcohol does dry fast, but it doesn't dry as fast as you might think. And it's actually pretty humid here today. It's always humid here, to be honest. It's always humid down here in the south. We did have that one cold front come through about 2 weeks ago, and it blew some nice dry air in. And oh, that's just what I'm seeing. There's a mouse arrow on one of my monitors, but you guys can't see that, so that's all good. But typically, it's always pretty humid here. All right. So, the indigo is the blue. And it really is, I don't have, like I said, I don't have the teal. So this indigo is pretty headed for purple. And then the violet, and then we've got a toss-up between violet and magenta. Blow dryer, I do have one. I do have a hair dryer out here. It'll probably trip the circuit breaker if I turn it on. I'm going to look at the difference between this violet. Where'd it go? And the magenta. The violet and the magenta. Well, well, well. Tell you what, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a little test. And we're going to do it on the back side of this guy. And this is our indigo. So this is really headed for purple. Okay. And yeah, that's the indigo. So I'm going to keep that there, because in the bottles these look pretty similar. And then the violet. See, that's what the back side is for. So there's the violet. And if I can find one more brush, we're going to do a little test. I don't care about this back side. I'm going to put that one there. I'm going to put that one there. And I'm going to get myself... You can't see this. I was on the wrong camera, guys. You're supposed to tell me when I'm on the wrong camera. And I was certain I had another brush. Another cheap brush, that is. But if I don't, I'll use a not cheap one. There's one. I knew I had one. And one more container. I love playing with color. It's so much fun. And I'm looking for I got all three open. I think I've got these right. That's the magenta. That's the violet. This is the magenta. Yes? Yes. Okay, so I'm more inclined to go with the magenta and the violet, or the magenta and the indigo. little better contrast, guys. What do you think? The magenta's looking pretty red today. The violet's looking violet. The indigo is definitely itself. All right. All right. Keep my brushes square here. That one there. That one goes there. These out of the way. All right. And I'm going to go with the indigo on the inside and the red rim. Red rim, dark center, or light center and dark rim. No, I'm going to switch that. I'm going with the magenta on the inside. Okay. And I can go all the way up to this edge because I'm going to fill that with resin. Again, one thing about putting on the dye on a big area like this is do the whole thing and keep it wet until you've done the whole thing. And that's going to be a black stripe right there. We're going to fill this with resin. There is some sealer in this dye, so that will help seal my wood for me against the resin bleed. Right up to there. Okay. And off we go into the brushing the whole thing. See how, I don't know if you can see over here, that's already crawling out there on the in the grain because it's completely unsealed. But again, that violet or the indigo is so dark, I think it's going to override that and we won't notice it. Now what we'll do is we're going to have to let this dry, so we'll turn it over because Jeff Peters, who had to go back to work, he wanted to see what would happen if we put the wax on first and then came in and dyed it. So that's what we're going to do on the back side while this is drying. Now this bottle, well, it is a bottle that says magenta, yeah. Some of the early, I've still got some of the dyes from when Chrom-Craft first came to be, because I've been with them from the start. Some of the bottles aren't really labeled, and so it's kind of interesting what you get. You never know what you're going to get. And I don't know what I'm going to do with that middle, if I should put some color in there or not. I'm thinking I'm going to fill it with resin. I just don't know. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it neutral for right now. I was just about to put the cap on that. You didn't see that. I almost knocked over the open bottle of magenta. Let me cap off this violet before I knock it over. And get it out of the way and put the cap back on the indigo. Now we'll do the outer band, and I'm just going to use a paper towel so it doesn't change the camera white balance too much in here. Okay, and let's see if I do that. You can't see the. Well, you'll be able to see it going around. I'll spin this, is what I'll do. I'm using these really high quality China chip China bristles from good old Harbor Freight. So the question is, what would one do with this? I guess it could be, maybe I was thinking of being like for putting chips on or something, or the stuff for dip. You know, not the dip itself, but you know, your carrots and celery and cauliflowers and all that kind of thing. I do like these two colors. And then I say with if I had any liquid black, I would dye it black, but I don't want to mess it up because I'm going to let the resin do its own fill. And I'm on the right camera, so you're seeing that going around. Okay, good. Now, the next question you guys have to answer is, what color of wax or gilt is going on top of this for the grain fill? All right, are we going with white? Are we going with another color that's not white? What are we up to? Or are we just skipping the ever dye or color black walnut, or is that just taboo? As far as I'm concerned, you can color anything you want to. I don't think that I have ever dyed walnut, but I wouldn't hesitate. One thing that's interesting, and I learned this, Nick Agar was talking on an interview he recently did, and he talked about how even using a natural brown in the dye or another natural color that's close to the wood will help it preserve its color, because it's going to change some over time. So sometimes dyeing a dark wood, if you want to keep the darkness, is not a bad thing. Okay, I see a little bit of magenta that I need to fill on the inside now that I've gone around this. I do like these two colors. And I'm going to go back on the inside. Just because I'm not 100% sure. Let me show you here on the end camera. See these spots that I missed right in here? Well, this point is lower than that top rim. So I don't believe the resin is going to go all the way to the top. So I want to make sure that I've got that colored so there's nothing showing. I mean, you could always come back and fix it. Now, also, and I didn't bring them out. Boy, is it windy out there. It's beating my metal fish against the building. The Chrom-Craft dye markers are the exact same dye, literally the exact same liquid in the dye markers. So if you do something like this and you need to come back and touch something up, those markers are the same colors. Okay? All right. So that's got those two colors on there dyed. And let's see. So we're still thinking about whether or not we're going to do any kind of a grain fill on this. We are going to put a grain filler on the back and wipe it back off. And of course the back's already kind of a mess because we were testing colors back there. So we're not going to worry about that because we'll just paint the whole back black if it looks all ugly and everything. So as this dries down, we give it a chance to dry down. Let's turn this over. And hopefully it doesn't do anything horrible. Let me put a couple paper towels more down here. How am I doing on time, by the way? 12:26. Okay, we're all right. I'm not even running late yet. Notice I said yet. All right, so we're just going to leave those blotches of color there. They look kind of crazy, but that's just what we've got. All right. And so Jeff, like I said, who went back to work, he said, well, what happens if you put the liming wax on first and then wipe it back out and then dye over top of it? I've got a feeling that it's going to, the dye is going to just overpower it and take it away. But we will find out. And I think I will go ahead and use the white. I've got this old Liberon liming that I've had forever and ever and ever. Sorry, excuse the reach. Now Liberon actually says to put this in, this is different than I've seen some people do, with fine steel wool. And I happen to have some 4/0 steel wool right here and handy. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to grind this in. Well, it kind of gives an idea of what might happen on the front here too, where we have the color. Now there's some couple of big holes back here and stuff. And remember, I didn't sand this back at all, so it's quite rough. Well, next week out here, as I'm doing this, I've been thinking I want to go back to. I haven't cast any resin in a while, and I think I've been working my tail off on the new website. I've been working on it forever and some change. And that's what I was thinking about, maybe giving you a sneak peek at what it looks like. I've got a piece of wood out here that is a piece of a tree that has been eaten by the termites, and I need to dry it, and I'm then thinking about stabilizing it and then casting it. So if I can remember to get myself in gear and do that this week, I might stabilize it up. And I think it's an old piece of pecan limb. Not that that matters, because you can't see what it is anymore. You can't tell what it is. Stabilize up this termite-eaten piece, and then do a hybrid cast, and then turn that guy. And so there's enough of it that I think I can stabilize it in 2 pieces, and have one, go ahead and get one stabilized and cast and ready to turn, and then another one would go through the cast process. Or I might even have 3 pieces, depending on how long it is. Can't quite remember, and go through the stabilizer. I haven't done the stabilizing process in quite a while on film, so it might be about time to do that again. Yeah, so that might be what next Monday is. Might just be. Okay. Now Liberon says you're supposed to let that dry for about 3 minutes. And so we're going to let that sit there and dry for a couple of minutes, and I'll take any kind of questions. Looks like there's about 10, 12 people around in here between the different places. Anybody got any kind of questions on their mind while we're just kind of letting this dry before we start to wipe it back off of there and see what we get? And then we're going to put dye on it. And then the whole time the other side is drying down nicely. Love those colors. I almost hate to put anything on that, to tell you the truth. I'm tempted just to want to put a finish on that, pour my black resin and put a finish on it, but we'll see. So if anybody's got any kind of questions, I got the good old squeaky throat coming up. Fire them in the box there and let me know. All right, and I'm not going to wait 3 minutes. I can guarantee you that. Jim Brinkman says, "Where in the process do you use the sealer?" I didn't seal this. I didn't pre-seal this. So the sealer, to me, you could have sealed the front side where I put the dye on. So you could seal that ahead of time if you wanted it to dye, if you thought it wasn't going to dye evenly. But that didn't do bad. So, you know, I'm pretty good there. I threw that one away. So you'll see that, you know, the tool marks in here. Oops, got to change camera for you. So that gives us a little bit of an idea. If I use that particular white wax, what it's going to look like over our colors out front. I actually like, from a color standpoint, contrast. I don't know how well that shows. The magenta, or the violet and the white has the highest contrast. Mary Alice, you've been playing with this. What's your thoughts on putting the white over the front we got on this piece of particular wood? If you're still in here and seeing what's going on, based on what you're seeing there. I mean, I can tell you one reason I personally I don't do these a lot is because I'm just not a fan of having all my color kind of disappear. Not completely disappear, but get so light. It works well if you, like in the texturing, if you've used a texturing tool. This piece of wood just doesn't seem to have that much, the grain's not doing that much, at least for me. And now putting the dye over the wax here, it might be interesting to see if it just beads up. So Mr. Jeff Peters, this is all for you. I'm going to wipe this down real good, because I don't know if the dye will do anything over the wax or not. You put a sealer on first and the dye doesn't change. When you say it doesn't change, you mean it stays, it doesn't suck up as much white from the wax? Because this dye, and I'm not sure which dye you're using, the Chrom-Craft dye has shellac and a resin sealer in it, which is why I skipped the step. Now, it may be that it needs more sealer. Again, the liming effect is not one that I've done a lot. I've just played with it here and there. Okay. So Mr. Jeffrey said he wanted dye on top of this wax. So let's see what happens. Okay, Mary Alice says, yes, the dye keeps the color. Good to know. Let's see what happens. We're going to brush this all on, and then we'll wipe it back off. I'm just kind of curious, see what Jeff's idea does for us. I'll try anything. You guys know that I'm not scared to put something on a piece of wood. All right, we'll go all the way around in here now. Like I said, I'm going to get this all covered and flooded, and then I'm actually going to wipe it back with a paper towel. And see what we get. Because it will, wiping it back, it may take a ton of it off. It may just take some of it off. We'll see here real quick. You notice I am wearing gloves today because I'm playing with a lot of color, a lot of dye. So it kind of is giving us a pink. That's kind of neat because magenta and white will make pink. I actually like this look because it doesn't look so white, but yet the undertone is there. I know you're getting some reflection in the cameras, but that's kind of cool. Okay. Can you guys see that all right? And sometimes it shows up better on the end camera. So it kind of went into a pink. And now we'll let that dry. And as you can see, as it's drying, the fan is blowing on it. And it's getting lighter and lighter in the white. All right. And then what I would really, like to see is when this all dries, and it gets an oil, either an oil or a clear wax, paste wax finish over it. So this, this is backwards. So leave it to Jeff. If you guys have ever met Jeff, he's a really cool guy. He's up in the Milwaukee area, north of Milwaukee. He's been doing lots of good stuff. He's real fun. He works with me at the shows up there. And I'm going to change gloves because I got stuff all over me of different colors. I'm going to put on a fresh pair of gloves. Like I say, it's going to be interesting. And I'm going to let my hands dry for a minute because they're getting super sweaty in there. So they need to make a glove. They need to make a glove that keeps you from getting stuff all over your hands and breathes at the same time. Now it's going to be interesting because there's some really big gaps in here still and whatnot. And we'll just see what this does. So again, we could be really radical and go with a gilt cream in a completely different color, or we could go in white. In the gilt creams, if we wanted to experiment, we have to commit at least to part of it. I have with me today in here, I've got gold and brass, Viking silver, and bronze. So we could use something other than a white in here on this and see what would happen. Don't know. I also know, talking with Chrom-Craft, I was over last week picking up some resin and supplies for orders. The accent paste is indeed going to, other than the liming white, is going to be discontinued. What I got confused was they said that, well, we made another batch. We made a whole nother round, and so I thought they were keeping it. Well, what it was is I guess they were filling some back orders, so they made another round and then sold right through it. And we had a long talk. He said, no, all the colors that we like or think were popular in the accent paste are going over to Chrom-Gilt. And Chrom-Gilt is, Nick Agar's product that he developed with Chrom-Craft, and it's different than the wax. Works in a similar way, but it is different, has a different consistency. And I've got them here as well, so it would be interesting to see. So Brian, silver or bronze on the whole thing, or two different ones? Because we've got our indigo out here, and then we went with the magenta. I'm almost inclined to do two different colors, but that might be too crazy. And I am pretty crazy. Let me go back to overhead here. Two different colors, or one same color of cream over the whole thing, and let the colors be different underneath. It's going to go into the grain some. It's going to affect the outside color, but most of it will come off. So that's the question of the day. Brian says, go for it, two colors. So if I go two colors, I'm thinking about the silver on the indigo, if I was to do that, and the gold on the magenta. The gold, both of those, the gold on the magenta, gold and magenta, that's just like being in a palace. And the silver and the indigo is an interesting combination depending on how it comes out. And that's the thing. We don't know how this is going to come out. It's a mystery. It's an experiment. And you guys know me. Sometimes I'll put things in here for folks who haven't. This is the first time I've ever seen Monday Methods. One of my things I love to do at Monday Methods is experiment and try things that may or may not work. I'm okay with that. And if I do something out here and it turns out to be a dud, that's okay. We all learn from it. I learned from it, and you won't have to make the mistake of making a combination that doesn't work. So instead of always doing something that I know that I've done 1,000 times and it's going to come out perfect, I don't mind trying new things. I'm kind of like, the mad scientist to my approach out here. I like to try things that I haven't tried before, that are uncertain, and sometimes I get some really cool results, and sometimes I get some duds, and that's okay. I don't really have a problem with that. So I'm going to step way out on the limb, which is not hard for me, and I'm going to go with the silver on the outside and the gold on the inside. Unless anybody vehemently objects, and then I'll just nod my head. Okay? So let's switch to the overhead camera again, and we will start with the gold on the inside. Now, I'm not going to put the gilt in the channel that's going to get the resin. All right? I'm going to skip that because I don't want the resin having this in it. So I'm going to put this, go all the way around here, and then I'm going to come back and wipe it through, and we'll see what we get. And I'll probably have to go pretty fast because it will dry. So I'm going to go all the way around the perimeter first. What's the old saying? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Right? Don't know till you go. I'll know I messed this up if Nick sees this, because he's only half an hour away, and he comes banging on the door later today and says, "Bradley, what in the world were you thinking? What are you doing with my cream like that?" I'll probably run into him at Lowe's, and he'll tell me just what he thinks. He knows I love to experiment. And I'm going to go light here because there's some big gaps in the wood right there. Although it's probably going to get down in there. Okay, now I just cover this up go over this all real quick. Like I said, if it doesn't work, there's always another color that's darker. That's what I love about wood turning. You can always change the shape. When it comes to color, you can always change the color. You just go darker and make something different. The gilt cream right now is in, these are 0.68 of a fluid ounce. They are going to also be coming in a bigger tube. The liming gilt cream, or the accent paste liming white, is going to be in a bigger jar as well than these small jars. These little jars are pretty small. And I could just take and probably rub a paper towel around, but I want to go ahead and just completely cover it. And then we'll see what we can take back off. Okay. And paper towels galore. That we have right here. And we'll start in on this. And it's going to take a bit because I put it on really heavy. And in the classic hindsight 2020, maybe just enough on a rag and spreading it around ultra thin might have been another better methodology. Because I'm really just taking off the excess now. So there's not enough texture in this, really, and I'm sure you're in overhead. Now I do know one way to cut this back. I experimented with this before I turned on the cameras, came live today. Is I could take mineral spirits, or I actually have lacquer thinner here, and I can cut this way down. Now it'd be kind of cool to leave it gold and magenta and blue. We could do that. I could make up some magenta resin, although I don't actually have magenta color. So it's, for me, and like I say, I got more coverage than I really wanted because I'm not getting my color exposed back. There is an undertone in there. Okay. Now, if I do this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is a bit of another, it's not a radical step. But if I cut this back once it's in place, then I actually get kind of the look that I want. Okay? But I have to be careful that I don't take it too much out of it, because I am using a solvent. Since I'm on the lathe, it kind of wobbles around. The other thing that's what I'm doing is I'm also pulling up some of the dye, which is kind of interesting, because it brings the dye back up into the blending. You guys know how I am about blending colors, how I love to blend colors. Sorry for the wobbliness of it here. So see, if I hit it too hard like that, there's a fine line in there. The gold is still down in the oak grain. So the trick was that the texture didn't allow it to spread, so I went on thick with it, and then of course I had too much, and it completely concealed the color. But we are getting nice bands of gold, and as you can see, if I bring it up closer, you'll see those gold bands in the magenta, and that's pretty nice. That's pretty cool. It's interesting that my resin picked up, the resin pocket, or the resin itself, picked up the chroma gilt pretty well. And again, what I'm using is actually stronger than what you should use. Mineral spirits, and I'm using a lacquer thinner. So they're not exactly the same animals, but I don't have any mineral spirits in here. And so it's doing a pretty nice job of just leaving it down in the grain. A little extra work. Now I'll try the blue. Of course, I'm going to run late today, but I don't care. I'll try the blue just put it on a paper towel and try and rubbing it in and see what we get with the silver out there. Some of this is tool mark up in here. Some of these little bands, that's from tool marks. And the other thing that would be interesting, and who's game for if I put another coat of magenta back over top of the gold? No, I don't think I'm going to do that. I do want to get this wiped off as much as I can before it dries completely. Like I said, I don't have any mineral spirits, so I'm going to try and get just to where I can get it, where it goes. Some of it's due to the tool marks in here, but for the most part, some of it, like right here, is just really, really coarse and porous. Okay, all right. So we get the highlight in there. I might sand that down lightly to get some of that top off, and I don't know what I would do. I got a section right in here that doesn't want to cooperate. And maybe that wood is just a little rougher right there, or maybe I just needed a little more solvent on it. And some of it's just the way the light hits it. Okay, so we're gonna leave that gold alone. I know that's just lifted up grain right there. Now on the blue, which is the indigo, we're going to go with silver, and so we'll try a different approach. We'll put it on the paper towel and see if we can rub it in, although I'm not sure it's going to do what I want it to. I think I must have docked silver on the floor. There it is. So I'm just going to put a little bit on here, and we'll see what happens. And I'll stand this on end. It's still, because of the coverage, you see how I get a lot of coverage on the top? Because I don't have enough over here. If I'm really light, I don't get any fill in the pores. Because I don't have enough texture in the wood for it to be getting down in there, at least in this particular case, for what it seems to be doing for us. And we'll just go back and take it back off. There's that little split right in there. See, it's interesting. In this particular grain of this piece of oak, in the rings, it won't get down inside. Like we want it to in reverse. And we don't have enough texture. As if we had textured this with a texturing tool on the outside, then we would just be going over the very top very lightly, and we would have the big contrast. But since this surface is actually smooth, we're getting a different look and a different effect. All right. Now I'll take a couple paper towels and take off as much excess just with the paper towels as I can, and I'm going to get that off the lathe bed. Hopefully that you can see it's not the same color as the, if I turn it this way maybe. Now let's cut it back. Do 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 do. At least this is a smaller surface area to work with. And change paper towels. Go through a lot of paper towels. But that's all right. I think the paper towel crunch is over for the moment. Although they're still a little too expensive for a paper towel. At least around here. A little bit of tool marking right in there. Put this over. Some more mileage out of it. So now that's starting to have a nice look to it. Still want to get some more off of that. I'm going to finish with this paper towel and I'll get one more clean one. And you can see kind of the blue silver. And if I go to the end camera for you. So we've got our indigo back as the prominent color, though we still have our silver down in the grain. Hold it to you like that. Now that one looks a lot better than the gold does. Of course, the gold's a pretty harsh contrast in there. Okay, I'm going to go around the outside one more time and wipe that down. And then we're going to mix up some resin really quick. And now this resin mix is not going to go in a pressure pot. So it's just going to sit because it's not that big. This will have to be the last because I'm just about out of solvent. Hey Corey, how you doing, buddy? We're having too much fun as I make a mess today. But I'm having a ball. So the silver and the indigo, I'm really happy with that particular look. And again, I might come back and rub this some more tomorrow after it dries. That little heavy spot right there off. So I'm much happier with the silver and indigo look that we're getting. The gold and magenta, actually I like the combination, don't get me wrong. Just a matter of the process on that. All right, back to the overhead real quick like that. And let's kind of make room here for a little bit of resin. Get a lid on this. So what do you think, gang? Yes, no, potential for that? Doing those kind of colors in that fashion, in that methodology? Again, to Mary Alice, your note about sealing first. The reason I skipped the sealer is because the Chrom-Craft die has the sealer in it, but it may not be enough to hold back the white from trying to, or the other wax colors from trying to take over. Alrighty, and we're going to make a quick batch of this resin. Should be enough. That's not a huge pour. We'll work up here on the table, and I'll change the camera in a second. So we'll put that up there. How's that? So actually pretty cool. and I'll really be interested in seeing it with a finish on it. Okay, that's you don't know what a piece looks like until you get the finish on there. Then you really find out what you got. So I don't think I think I can do this for a minute and let you look at that while I mix up this resin. At least pour it up. I'll just pour down here on the end of the lathe. Chrom-Craft is 2-to-1 epoxy. Again, this is a long open time. It's got a 2-hour open time. It's nice and pleasant temperature in here. So I don't think I'll have any kind of a bubble problem. Again, this is not going to go into a pressure pot. It's just going to sit out here in the open on a flat table. And black is the color of choice. Let me put this in the overhead. Oh, that's where it was all the time. I'm sorry. I was thinking it was on the end camera. Now it's on the end camera. I'm backwards. Don't mind me. See what happens when it gets close to quitting time, closing time, ending time. So I'm just mixing up, pouring up the resin down here on the end of the lathe. And then I'll mix it out there in front of you on the table. Like I said, my plan is black for the fill there. That's what I'm planning. And then let me go get my swiper stick, scraper stick, and my stirrer. And we'll get this guy poured up here real quick. It's always good to scrape out your cups. I'll pop to the front end so you can see what I'm up to. Since I'm working over here on the end, I'm just scraping out the excess resin so that my mix is accurate. Now this cup will probably be full. I may have to pour it over into a bowl. We'll see how the mix goes. It goes down in the trash. Good thing I cleaned the lathe bed this morning. Now, if I'm tempted, tell me what you guys think. Should I put a little bit of like a silver pearl in this black? Since we have kind of the grain fill has it's going to have a bit of an iridescence about it. So the question is, should we put a little bit of iridescence into our black band? Or should we leave it just straight jet black? Wipe the big chunks off at the end of my lathe here. We'll do the mix right in the cup. I think I'll be all right. Yeah, we're all good. Maria says yes for the pearl. I'm thinking so too. I think it needs to have a little. If I just leave it just jet black, might not be as interesting. I think is the best word that I can come up with. Kind of do the boat motor move on this. That's my initial stir. Let me go overhead. I'm going to go look for the pearl real quick because I put all the powders away, but I put them on a shelf this time. So it should be easier to find something. It's funny, the first thing that always comes up for me is iridescent gold, which is my favorite, but I'm going to try and resist that. I've got iridescent gold, iridescent blue, iridescent red. Iridescent gold again. I'm looking for a silver. If I have one in here. Oh, there it is. There's silver pearl. Okay, we're back with the goodies. All right, let's see, back to the front. Okay, so Brian has a good, and I'm back, I'm just walking in front of the camera. I may pour this off into a separate pour. I'm going to mix the black in first for all of it. Yep, I'm on the front camera. Now, if I don't mix a lot of black in there, and that's actually going to have a little translucence to it. Sometimes you could pick up, you'd still pick up the color, say the magenta that's underneath there. That's one fancy candle holder. Yes, it is. I'm thinking that's where the handle goes to carry the thing around. Or I put another layer on it and put the dip up in the top. Who knows? Who knows? It's not a real big cove there, so it's not going to take all this resin. I'll mix up something else. I'll pour some of this into some other little mold before we're done, and go throw that in the pressure pot as a casting. So one straight black and one black that's going to get a color. I say that, I don't think I'll take all this. I didn't measure or anything like that. You know me measure something? Are you kidding? I wouldn't ever do that. And then I see them. I was over here and I didn't get my other stir sticks when I should have. Okay, and let's see if we can do this. You can see one black, and then we're going to add color to one. And we talked about a silver pearl. I don't clean the beater. I go to Ollie's or the Dollar Tree and I buy another one. They cost $1. I would spend $1 in cleaner, or you can't. So when it gets too full, I just toss it away and get a fresh one. Let's see, we're going to need a little bit more silver in there. And I may throw another color into that as well. I'm sure that I'm past 12 o'clock now, or 1 o'clock. Yep, but hey, it's not the first time I've gone long. No, you can't put a time limit on having fun. And time limits on enough things in our life. Having fun doesn't need to be one of them. So in our swirl, which we're going to come in here at the last minute with, I'm going to actually add one more color to this. Call me crazy. I'm going to put a little bit of gold into it. And I may just pour this all. Well, I'm going to put one round of black in here first, and then we'll come in and swirl. The problem with trying to swirl with this is, who was it? I think it was Brian. Second pour is that these are going to blend together because it's got a 2-hour open time, so they're gonna end up as the same anyway, regardless of what we do. Okay. Now, if I was to wait an hour and 45 minutes until these started to get warm, then that would be okay. You could keep them separate. What I might do is drizzle just a straight black on it after the fact. Okay, so here's where the part comes in that I'm not going to mask this off or anything else. And I wish I had a different pouring device. And I see something over here. Hang on just a second. Actual measuring cup with a spout. Got some other gunge in it, but I don't think it'll affect what we're doing. This will make it a little easier to pour. So I'm more silver than black with the pearl, but once the pearl settles. Okay, we are in the overhead and off we go. Steady as she goes. It will seek its own level. Of course, now this shop is not perfectly level. I could have been a surgeon. Not. Hope I didn't lean my head in the way. Got up on the edge there. So much for being a surgeon. Wipe that off real quick. Not that it's the end of the world or anything like that. Okay. So, looking, I'm letting that settle now, letting it flow, and I can actually, I don't know if you can see it, it's actually moving around, it's moving a little bit, it's flowing to the lowest point. It looks like they're both coming over here. So I probably won't completely fill this. I may move it out on the table over there. So they're moving and filling up, and it's just about full over there. I may put it out here on the table that's out front, which is where it's going to sit overnight. Okay. So I'll pop you back into the overhead again. And you can see how that's flowing. Now what I was talking about with the black drizzle, and I can see that, like I say, I know that this floor is not level, so if I spin this guy, I almost guarantee you it's going to run the other direction, back over there. We know that the cut is uniform, right? So I'm actually pouring the pearl version out of the mixing cup. And I'm going to pour all the black, straight black into it. And I might just go around and do a little drizzle of the black very lightly. And it's going to pick up some of the pearl. And that is going to flow out and mix on its own. in time. I can assure you come tomorrow, that black squiggle won't be that defined. And I know it's kind of hard to see in that camera, but you can kind of see the line if I stay out of the shadow. Okay. All right. What do you think, gang? Did we have fun? I know I did. I know I ran a little long. Lorianne, you just popped in. Thank you. It looks great. Ah, there goes my voice. Must be time for lunch. A great fun day. Learned some things. Again, this piece of oak, I didn't do any texture. I was just trying to get the texture to work in the grain itself. It got a mixed result when I used the cream. Put it on thicker than I wanted to, probably should have, and went and cut it back to get the effect I was looking for, the look I was looking for. And I'm going to take these gloves off because next time I'll put on another pair when I move this, when I pick it up. Again, if you are unfamiliar, I'm going to pop you over to, I encourage you to join the Monday Methods community. They're on Facebook, our Facebook group, where we put in the discount codes and we have live interaction. I'm probably going to try this on Friday of this week, go live, and I'll post it in the group there when I decide to jump back out here, and we'll just see how that goes. So if you go Monday Methods Wood and Resin Turning Community, I forgot that I had actually lengthened the name, and search that up. And if you didn't get an invitation from me, from Chrom-Craft, just ask to join, and of course I will pop you right in there and bring you right in. And I really encourage people. Mark, I'm going to say his last name's Thompson. I think he's already started an album in there. You can create your own photo albums within the group. I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to post your pieces, your inspirational pieces, like say from today. If you go and do something like this and it's your first one, or even if you've done it before, share it with the group. And again, you can create your own photo album within the group. So put your work in there. It's your work. Be proud of it. Show it. Share it with the group. It's all about inspiring other folks to find things to do that they haven't done before, give things a try. I encourage you to have open dialogue in the group. Ask a question, and hopefully people will respond to you. Certainly I will if there's an answer that I can give you on the topic that you're looking for. But I encourage everybody to engage in there. And it's not a big group, might not ever be a big group, and that's not really what's important. We're not trying to take over the world. We're trying to share our Monday Methods experience and help each other out. So that's what we're up to. That's what that's about. I appreciate it, everybody. I had a great time. I had a lot of fun. See you again. I'm going to post in there. I'll probably let you know by Wednesday, so you have a heads up. But I'm thinking Friday evening, and I know it's tough with the West Coast and the East Coast and the times, but I will give it a shot, and we'll see how that goes. So everybody, have a great week. I appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending Monday Methods. I always have fun, and I appreciate everybody that comes. And so on that note, I'm going to change camera over and then go to the control room and shut things down. I will see you all on next Monday. If I don't see you sooner in a live chat, it's going to be a Google Meet, and we'll go with that. All right. Thanks, guys.